Welcome, my friends, to a quiet room of words and warm light. Outside, the night air is cool. A small wind moves through the street. You can almost hear it brush against old wooden doors. Inside, there is a table. There is a candle. The flame shakes a little, and the shadows dance on the wall. Close your eyes and imagine soft footsteps on stone. Close your eyes and imagine the smell of ink, sharp and dark. Imagine the sound of paper, gentle like a whisper. Imagine a city that sleeps, while one small workshop stays awake. Have you ever held a book and felt a kind of magic? Did you ever wonder how people shared ideas before books were common? How did a story travel when most people could not read? Why did learning feel far away for so many families? What if every page had to be written by hand? Would you still read the same way? Would you even have time? Today we will walk back in time to the history of the printing press. We will do it in simple English, and we will learn through a real story of change, one page at a time. Long ago, books were rare. A book could take months, even years to copy. A copyist is a person who writes a book by hand. That means one human hand made every line. If the hand got tired, the letters could change. If the mind got distracted, a word could disappear. So knowledge moved slowly. Schools were small. Libraries were quiet and limited. Many people lived their whole lives without owning a single book. Can you imagine that kind of home, where stories arrive only by voice, but humans love light? We want to see. We want to understand. We want to carry ideas from one place to another. And that is where the dream begins. Some people tried earlier ways to copy words faster. They used stamps, blocks, and careful rubbing. It helped, but it was still hard. Each page still asked for time. Each page still asked for steady hands. Then, in a busy town in Europe, a skilled maker had a new thought. He worked with metal and tools. He knew how to shape small pieces with care. He looked at letters and asked a simple question. What if letters could be moved? What if they could be used again and again? Here's the surprising thing. The dream was not only about books. It was about everyday life. It was about messages, prayers, rules, and simple news. It was about bringing light to more homes. Could words become something you could make, like bread? Could learning become something you could share like water? But there was a problem. Many people did not believe it. Some people said it was too costly. Some people said it would be messy. Some people feared mistakes would spread faster. And some people simply laughed. Why change what already works? They asked. Still, the maker kept going. He gathered a small team. In a workshop that smelled of oil and smoke, they tried, failed, and tried again. They heated metal. They cooled it. They tested shapes. They pressed and lifted. They watched and they learned. Say it with me. Words can travel. One more time. Words can travel. They needed more than letters. They needed ink that could cling to metal. They needed paper that could take pressure without tearing. They needed a press, a strong machine that can push down with steady force. In simple words, a press is a tool that makes a clear mark by pushing. Night after night, they worked. Their hands were dark with ink. Their backs etched. And yet, their eyes stayed bright. Because they could feel change coming, like dawn behind clouds. Then something changed. One test page came out clear. The letters stood sharp and even. The same letters could be placed again for the next line. And that's when the dream started to look real. Can you picture that moment? A fresh page on the table. A quiet breath. A smile that tries to hide, but cannot. Was it perfect? Not yet. Was it enough to keep going? Yes, it was. Repeat after me. Print it again. Try this phrase. Print it again. Soon they could make many pages that looked the same. Not one page. Not two pages. Many, and with each page, the world began to open a little wider. But what would the town say? Would people welcome it? Would they fear it? Would they understand what it meant? The workshop door opened, and the first printed pages went out into the street, into the market, into the hands of curious strangers. The story of the printing press was stepping into the light. Here's the surprising thing. A printed page can look ordinary. It is just paper and ink. But in that time it felt like a door. People held the sheet near a candle to see every line. They traced the letters with a finger. They asked, "How did you make this? And can you make another?" But then there was a problem. The work needed money, space, and patience. Tools broke. Ink spilled. Paper was wasted. And when you make many copies, one small error can become many errors. What if a wrong word caused trouble? What if a leader tried to stop the work? The maker and his team had to be careful. They checked lines again and again. They listened. They learned to fix and improve. They kept their dream close, like a warm coal in winter. Say it with me. Step by step. One more time, step by step. As more pages appeared, whispers grew into talk. People began to sense it. Something new was moving through the streets, made of paper, ink, and hope. Soon, the press would have to prove itself to the world. The next days were busy. The team worked like bakers before sunrise. They set the letters in rows. They locked them tight. They spread ink with careful hands. Then they pulled the press, and the paper received the marks. At first, the town watched from a distance. People are often unsure about change. Some people said, "This will ruin writing." Some people said, "This will spread bad ideas." Some people said, "Only rich people will use it." Have you ever heard people say that when something new arrives? But the pages kept coming. They were clear. They were fast to make. And they were the same each time. That sameness mattered. It meant a student could read the same words as a teacher. It meant a traveler could carry a message that stayed true. Here's the surprising thing. The printing press did not only make books cheaper. It made trust easier. When many copies match, people can compare, check, and talk about the same text. That helped learning grow. Repeat after me, the same words. One more time, the same words. Soon, other makers wanted to learn the method. They visited the workshop. They asked questions. They watched the press work. And then they went home and tried to build their own. Why did it spread so quickly? Because it solved a real problem. People wanted words, and they wanted them now. But then there was a problem. A press needs more than a good idea. It needs supplies. It needs steady paper. It needs enough ink. It needs people who can read letters backward in their minds. Because the letters on the press faced the opposite way. That is not easy, is it? The work also brought new kinds of pressure. If you can print many pages, you can also print many opinions. Some leaders liked that. Some leaders feared it. Some groups tried to control what could be printed. Others tried to use printing for their own power. What happens when a tool can spread light, but also spread confusion? And that's when the story turns. The printing press began to move from one town to another. Small shops appeared. The sound of pressing and turning became part of city life. Streets that once smelled only of bread and smoke began to smell of ink too. For many families, this change arrived quietly. A father brought home a small booklet. A mother listened as a child read a line out loud. A friend shared a printed notice about a market day. A worker saw a new rule posted on a wall. Can you feel how everyday life started to shift? Here's the surprising thing. When reading becomes easier, thinking can become louder. People ask more questions, they compare ideas. They learn new skills, they write letters. They plan trips, they start small schools. They build new kinds of home inside their minds. Say it with me. I can learn more. Try this phrase. I can learn more. But there was also doubt. Some people missed the old world, where books were slow and special. Some copyists worried about their work. Some teachers feared students would read the wrong texts. Some families could not afford even a cheap page. So the change was not perfect, it was uneven. It moved in waves. Then something changed again. Printers learned to work faster and better. They improved the press. They organized letters in cases. They trained helpers. They made small prints for daily use, not only big books. Over time, printed words became part of business, religion, science, and simple entertainment. A pamphlet is a small book with a few pages. That means it can be made and shared easily. Have you ever seen a small flyer on a street wall? Have you ever read a short notice and felt informed in seconds? That kind of moment began long ago. But then there was a threat that did not come from paper or ink. It came from people. Competition grew. Some printers copied others. Some lied to sell more, some printed careless work. And when mistakes spread, trust can break. So printers had to learn a new skill, responsibility. They had to care about quality. They had to care about truth as best as they could. Here's the surprising thing. The printing press forced society to practice thinking. It pushed people to ask, is this real? And who made this? And why? Those are big questions, right? At last, the press became more than a workshop tool. It became a new kind of engine for change. And the world was ready for the next chapter. where printed words would travel farther than any single voice could ever reach. Imagine a traveler carrying a stack of pages in a simple bag. Imagine a ship leaving a harbor with printed instructions and maps. Imagine a student saving coins to buy one small text, then reading it again and again by window light. Why did these moments matter? Because they made knowledge portable. They made learning something you could carry. But then there was a problem that printers could not solve alone. Many people still could not read. So teachers, parents, and communities had to step forward. They used printed pages as tools. They practiced letters. They sounded out words. They helped each other. And slowly, in many places, literacy grew. Literacy means the ability to read and write. In simple words, it means words become your friends. Repeat after me. Words are my friends. One more time. Words are my friends. And that's when the real magic appeared. A new reader is not just a student. A new reader is a new thinker. A new thinker can question, plan, and dream. Can you see why the press mattered so much? Now let's stay with the feeling of that old workshop, but let the years move forward like a slow river. The printing press spreads. Towns grow used to the sound, ink becomes a normal smell, and printed pages begin to fill homes, schools, and public places. Here's the surprising thing. The press helped people build shared memory. When a story is printed, it can survive storms, travel far, and return years later. A grandparent can read the same tale a child reads. A village can keep a record of rules and events. That makes life feel more connected, doesn't it? But then there was a problem. When words spread faster, arguments can spread faster too. People can use printing to teach, but also to fight with ideas. Some communities became divided. Some leaders tried to silence printers. Some printers chose safety over courage. We don't have every detail of every place, but many accounts describe tension around printed words. Why? Because words are powerful. They can bring light, and they can also cast shadows. And that's when another kind of skill became important. How to read with care. People learned to ask, who is speaking? They learned to check sources. A source is where information comes from. In simple words, it is the start of a message. Have you ever asked yourself, where did this story begin? Have you ever wondered, why is someone telling me this? Over time, printing helped many fields grow. It helped builders share plans. It helped doctors share ideas about health. It helped explorers share reports. It helped artists share poems and songs. Not every page was wise, and not every page was kind. But the river of words kept moving. Then something changed again. Printed words started to reach people who were not part of old learning circles. New readers appeared. New writers appeared. And when more voices enter a conversation, society begins to change. Is that always comfortable? No. Is it often necessary? Yes. Say it with me. I read with care. One more time. I read with care. Here's the surprising thing. The printing press also changed how people saw time. Before, news could arrive late, like a slow cart. With printing, news could move faster. People could hear about events beyond their town. They could feel part of a larger world. What does that do to a human heart? It can create fear, but it can also create hope. But then there was a twist that many people did not expect. The press did not stay the same. Printers experimented. They tried different sizes of letters. They tried different ways to place pages. They learned to print small items quickly, like notices, calendars, and simple learning sheets. A calendar is a page that shows days and months. That means it helps people plan. And that's when the press began to save time. Time is something we all need, right? When a school can buy one set of printed lessons, the teacher does not have to copy everything by hand. When a shop can print a list of prices, customers can understand faster. When a town can print warnings or announcements, people can act sooner. Have you ever seen a warning sign and felt grateful? Have you ever read an announcement and said, now I know? Here's the surprising thing. Printing also helped memory become fairer. Before, only a few people could keep records. With printed forms and copies, more people could keep track of debts, agreements, and promises. That did not make the world perfect, but it gave ordinary people a stronger voice. But then there was a problem again. Too many words. When words become cheap, they can become noisy. Some people felt lost in the noise. So communities built new habits. They made libraries. A library is a place where many books live together. That means anyone can come and learn. They made newspapers and journals. and they created rules of editing. Editing means checking and improving text so it is clearer. Can you see the pattern? Dream, doubt, build, turn, save, and legacy. The press kept moving through those steps again and again, like breathing. And now, my friends, we arrive at today. We live in a world full of words. They fly through the air in ways the old maker could not imagine. We read on paper, and we read through glowing screens. But the basic idea is the same. Letters arranged, pressed, and shared. Have you ever thought about how many words touch your day? A label on food, a message from a friend, a sign on a street, a story you listen to at night. All of it is part of that long chain of change. But the legacy is not only about technology. It is about people. It is about a team staying up late, trying again, cleaning ink from their hands, and refusing to stop. It is about readers learning slowly, sounding out letters, and feeling pride. It is about families building a small library and calling it home. Here is the surprising thing. The printing press did not replace the human voice. It gave the voice more roads to travel. A teacher could reach more students. A thinker could reach more listeners. A simple story could reach you, right now, in simple English. So as you rest tonight, think about your own life. What will you build with your hands and your heart? What small change will you make, step by step, until it becomes something real? What light will you carry into someone else's home? Good night, my friends. Keep your dreams warm. Keep your reading gentle, and remember, every page is a door.